All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Super excited for this series that we're going to do. It's an area that I don't really see enough information online about, which is what's kind of prompted me to do this series, which is too far under the plane. Players that struggle with too far under the plane. Here's what you would expect to see out of a ball flight. You probably already know that this is you, but let's just go into it real quickly. So I think very distinctly we have two issues that we would see. We have a contact issue that comes up all the time, and then we have a ball flight issue that comes up. So typically what I see out of players, especially better players that are too far underneath the plane, is they always struggle with catching the golf ball thin. So the more that my swing direction as a right-handed player goes out to the right, the more my low point moves back, and then we're left with a choice. Do I hit the ground behind it, or do I try and time this stand-up piece that creates this thin right shot? And when I time it or I get the club on the ball, a lot of times then it turns into this big hook like this. Like this was a piece that really plagued me. So if this is you right here, this video is for you. Let's get into it. All right, so here's gonna be our part one video. And the first thing that I wanna build out with the player is really how do we set up the backswing? And more importantly, how do we set up the body in a place to where we're not going to be prompted to hang backwards, throw the club too far out to the right, and drop the arms obviously too far behind us. Now there's a distinct pattern that I typically see out of players that struggle with this, and this was one of my big ones. And this is why I want to start with this. So typically what we see is we'll see the player gets the golf club started too far inside, they have too much early rotation in the pelvis, and because of that, we start to see a lot of sinking and we start to see a lot of down. So the more that my pressure gets back and the more that I sit down right here, as I move into my lead side, you can see how quickly my left shoulder, my lead shoulder starts to work up, my lead hip starts to work up, and this is me trying to extend so that I don't hit the ground behind it, which is really what starts to create a lot of what our swing direction issues are. So there's a couple of drills that I want to run you through and how we can actually start to practice this to turn this into a feel in our backswing that can really help us out with keeping the golf club on plane for a longer time. So the first one I'm going to run through, we're going to start with a smart ball. Now, what I like about this and the way that we would use it is I'm going to take the necklace piece that we have right here and I'm going to run this through my belt loop so that it's stationary. Now, this is going to seem weird, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck this right here between my legs. And if you can see the Tour Striker logo on this, one of the first things that I'm going to ask you to do is a relationship here with the ball, because I'd be able to feel this, is one, we don't want the ball to get shorter, because if it gets shorter, we have the ability to drop it. And number two, what I want you to use this logo for right here is how we're going to start the takeaway and how we're going to start the backswing. So basically from P1 to P3, okay? So when we look at this right in here, the player that struggles with too far into out, they are early turners. So you can see how this logo starts to turn. My legs, my knees, and everything right here start to turn. And we see the golf club get excessively inside, and a lot of times that's followed with dropping, okay? Sinking too much into the ground. So very simple drill. Here's where I want you to start. Right in here, I have the ball and I have my chest lined up over this line that I have right in the center of my feet. The first place that I want to see you practice is being able to make a backswing here using more shoulders, arms, and torso, keeping these alignments neutral. So I'm going to take this all the way back to P3. So this starts to work, I think, the golf club in the backswing in the proper order. The club has to work backwards, it has to work upwards, and it has to work inwards. So when we look at the player who is struggling with too far inside, is they get the back and the in early, the up late, and the pressure moving forward, and this is where we start to see a lot of times the golf club drops too far from the end. So where I would have you start, let's make 3 practice swings before we ever strike a golf ball, and we're gonna go rehearsals right here. Keeping the ball pointed forward at the camera, so my knees are gonna continue pointing forward at the camera, and I'm gonna work the shoulders, the arms, and the torso to left arm parallel, and you can see how I've got a hinge right in here. I'll go 1, 2, 3. Now I'm in a position to where I can start to turn, and I'm still on center right there. So I think that's the first place, is getting the backwards, the upwards, and the centeredness in before we do anything else. Okay, so that we have a neutral spine, and we have this golf club working a little bit more vertically on plane as opposed to it rolling in too quickly right here. So I would start with this. I'd go 1, 2, 3, reset, and then I'm going to hit one like that. And nothing about that to me felt like it was crazy in to out. We'll do that again one more time, and then I'll run you through our second drill here. So we've got the ball in between our legs. Okay, we're going to keep the ball and the sternum over the center line. Rehearse this to left arm parallel. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we'll let one go right here. And same thing, that was a pretty darn good strike right there. So this is a great place, I would say, firstly starting in building out the planing mechanisms in the backswing and getting us to move this in the proper order. Now, not everybody is going to have a smart ball, so I think there's also another way right here that we can do it. So this would be an elastic band right here that you'll see is used in a lot of workouts, okay? So what you're going to do is the elasticity in this is going to form a tension. So if I put this right here around my knees, what I don't want to allow to happen is I don't want my knees right here to get closer earlier, and I don't want this line right here to drop. So we're basically, now we can feel more of an outward tension versus an inward tension, because a lot of times an inward tension with forward pressure gets the knees and everything moving at the same rate. So we're building a more stable base as we're starting the golf club, the arms, the shoulders, and the torso back. So I'd be right in here. I'm going to keep the tension to P3 before I start to turn and move forward. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then I'll let it go. And that right there was about as good of a strike as I can make, and I can see that none of these golf balls are starting off to the right. So using something like a smart ball, keeping the height of the ball or keeping it pointed forward. I really like the elastic band right here and feeling an outward tension, keeping my knees and my pelvis pointed directly at the camera for a much longer time than what I'm used to, which I used to be this guy right in here that would get the club too far to the inside. I'm going to rehearse it again. 1, 2, 3. There's where I'm trying to move through, and then I'll let it go. And same thing right there. That ball's actually, if anything, starting a little bit left, and it's actually fading. So the first place that I would start in here, if you are the player that is too far under the plane, is let's add some stability to the backswing by doing those 2 drills so that the shoulders, the arms, and the torso, when we stay on center, can start to work the golf club up on plane earlier versus too far under the plane as we're starting to sink. I think this is a great start. We're going to have a bunch of videos to follow on this topic. I think it's a really great one. I hope you enjoyed this. I appreciate your support. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed this video here. If you haven't, please click that subscribe button. You can also click the bell right there, and that's going to notify you every time that I release a new YouTube video. Also, if you haven't, check out that last video that I did. It's right here, pinned to the screen. Thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave those below, and I will make sure I get back to each and every one of you. So, thank you again. Appreciate your support. We'll see you next time.